If you're a beginner editor, this video is not for you. I mean, you can try, but there's gonna be a lot of keyframes today. I'm gonna be showing you how you can create that pretty complex animation. So hopefully after you watch the tutorial, you won't be having keyframe nightmares. Let's get into it. Alright, so we're back in the software. I'm just gonna show you the comp settings, 1920 by 1080. I'm gonna hit OK. And the first thing we need is rounded rectangle tool. So with this, I'm gonna create a shape in the middle. Let's recenter, and also I'm gonna uncheck constraint proportions, and we're gonna bump up X. In case if your shape is not rounded, you can adjust it over here. Let's rename it rounded rectangle. And now we'll open rotation, so let's hit R on the keyboard. And I'm gonna alt click the stopwatch. Now we can take the expression from the command and paste it right here. So that's how expression is looking. And next thing is just hitting the stopwatch in order to create a keyframe. We're gonna move forward, change it to 3 degrees, and then move forward again, and we're gonna change it back to 0. Let's see. So it's too subtle, so in order to make it a bit sharper, we're gonna squeeze in the keyframes. I'm just thinking maybe as for the middle keyframe, we're gonna change it to 5. So this is gonna give us a little bounce. And now our goal is to split that shape into 2 parts. So for this, I'll use the mask. And in order to do so, I'm gonna right click, go to mask, and click new mask. I'm gonna hit Ctrl T. I'm gonna increase the size of the layer, and I'm just gonna set it somewhere in the middle. We can actually cover half of the screen like that. And just to make sure it's in the middle, we can support ourselves with action save. So with the help of this, I'm just gonna adjust it. Let's turn it off. All right, so this seems perfect. And the next thing I'm gonna do is double click M, and we're gonna head over to mask expansion. And what we want to do is bump up the pixels. So I'm just gonna change it to 2. Then I'm gonna duplicate that layer by hitting Ctrl D. And now in one of the masks, we need to invert it. So for this, I'm gonna click here, and that way we got 2 separate shapes. So now as you can notice, we got that line over here, and what we want to do is head over to one of the rectangles, actually to the first one over here, and change mask expansion to -2. That way it's gonna cover that line. Alright, so that's how it's looking. And also in order to get rid of the keyframes, we can delete these, we can alt click the stopwatch, and we can parent rotation to dot rotation. So that way we got only one set of keyframes, just for extra clarity. So now here's the thing, we need to select both layers, and I'm gonna hit P, and we're gonna create a keyframe for position. Now I'm gonna move forward, and we're gonna drag one of the layers over here, and the other one to the right. We can actually use the proportional grid, and we can make it exactly in the same place on the opposite sides. Just like so. Let's select first keyframes, and we're gonna drag them forward. The next step would be using the graph. So for this, I'm gonna easy ease the keyframes by hitting F9. I'm gonna go to the graph editor, I'm gonna fit the graph, and here we're just gonna squeeze the peak in the middle. Okay. That's really rapid, so for this I'm gonna extend it a bit and then make it sharper in the middle. Very nice. So when the shape is splitting up, our goal is to actually have the mask go from this position to the middle. So that's what we're gonna do, but first I'm gonna select both layers and I'm gonna hit M. Now let's create a keyframe for mask path in both of them. I'm gonna move forward, I'm gonna select one of them, and I'm gonna double click mask and move it to the middle. We can use action save, and this should be fine. Now let's go to the opposite side, and here we're gonna do the same thing. Okay, let's see all the keyframes. So that's how it's looking. And the thing is that we need to adjust the timing. So for this, I'm gonna select both these and move them, actually align them with these 2, and then grab the last 2 and align them with these 2 as well. We can select 4 of them, and I'm gonna apply the mid graph. Here we have the mid graph. Let's see. Okay, for me it seems a bit too early, so for this I'm gonna select all 4, and I'm gonna drag them backwards a bit. Okay, way better. We're gonna have a lot of keyframes today. One thing I'm gonna do is just grab rotation and move it a bit forward. So when that bounce is happening, we need to have that split up. Next thing I'm gonna do is select both layers. I'm gonna head over here, I'm gonna click rectangle 1, I'm gonna hold Ctrl and click another one. Let's keyframe size. Now we need to move forward, and we're gonna bump up X, let's say to 420. Then also I'm gonna go back to the first keyframe over here, and I'm gonna keyframe roundness. Let's move forward, and we're gonna make it less rounded by decreasing the number. Okay. Now let's select all the keyframes over here, then hold shift and select these 2. And we're gonna apply the mid graph. Okay, starts to look pretty nice. Actually, we could make our life easier by deleting these keyframes for size and roundness in our upper layer. And then we're just gonna connect roundness with a peak whip to our roundness in the first layer. Then we're gonna do the same for the size. And this is gonna work perfectly fine. So now from here we can control both shapes. Let's see it with the motion blur. Okay, I just feel like we could extend everything over here. Then let's move our time indicator behind all the keyframes, and we're gonna again adjust the size and the roundness. So for this I'm gonna make it smaller, and we kind of wanna achieve a circle. So we need to adjust size and roundness, and this should be fine. Let's select all them here. I'm gonna go to the graph editor, I'm gonna fit the graph, and here we want to squeeze the peak in the middle. Okay. I'm just gonna extend all the keyframes over here to make it less harsh. Okay. And now what we need is a new null object. So for this I'm gonna right click, go to new, and pick null object. Let's call it controller. And we're gonna select both layers on the bottom, and we're gonna parent it to the controller. So now with this, we're gonna create a keyframe for rotation. I'm gonna move forward, and I'm gonna change it to 1 over here. So it makes a full circle. Okay, and obviously we need to apply a mid graph, and I'm gonna squeeze it in. With animations like that, there's a lot of adjusting. Also, there's another thing I would like to do, which is basically playing around with the scale. So for this, I'm gonna hold shift, click S, and we're gonna keyframe scale. I'm gonna align the keyframe with this one, and let's just decrease the size. Let's say 25 should be fine, and we're gonna apply the same graph. Alright, so everything here seems really nice apart from the beginning. I just feel like we could add a little bit more bounce to this. So for this I'm gonna head over to rotation over here, and we're gonna change this to a bigger value. Let's see. Okay, then I'm gonna squeeze in the keyframes, and I'm gonna adjust the timing. Okay, not bad. And then we're gonna hide all the keyframes. We're gonna select both bottom layers. I'm gonna hit P, and here we need to adjust the position. So for this, we're gonna set a keyframe for both of them, somewhere here. Maybe let's bring them backwards, and then we're just gonna get them to the middle. We can use action save. Actually, you can set it to 0 over here, should be fine. Then we're gonna select all these. Let's head over to the graph editor. We can actually easy ease them, and then what I'm gonna do is create a peak on the right, so we have a big impact at the end, just like so. The only thing we need to do is just drag all these keyframes somewhere here. Okay, this seems really nice. Then I'm gonna hit U here, and we're gonna create another controller. So for this I'm gonna right click, go to new, null object, and let's rename it to controller 2. Let's parent the first controller to the controller 2, and we're gonna hit S on the keyboard. Now I'm gonna create a keyframe, move forward, and we're just gonna bump up the scale. We need to adjust the timing so it gets bigger whenever the impact is happening. Okay, so something like that should do. Obviously we need a better graph here. So I'm gonna easy ease, go to the graph editor, and we're just gonna create a peak on the left this time. Okay, really nice, but it's extremely slow. Better. Let's adjust it even more. The timing is a bit off. Let's see the whole thing. Doesn't seem that bad. I'm just gonna go to the graph editor again, and I'm gonna use the value graph this time. So here we're gonna be able to have a bit more control. So I'm gonna grab that point, and I'm gonna drag it upwards. Okay, let's see now. Now we could probably extend that point over here, and then let me make some adjustments. Okay. Yeah, much better. Okay, this is really nice. Now we're gonna focus on creating another shape, which is gonna be rounded rectangle tool. So with nothing selected, we're just gonna kind of create an outline for this. Make sure to hold shift, then we're gonna recenter this, and we're gonna call it invert. Now I'm gonna add the invert effect, and if we click here, we're gonna turn it into an adjustment layer. So you can't really see anything, but the reason for that is that we don't really have any backgrounds. So if we click here, you're gonna notice that there's transparency grid. So what we need to do is just right click, go to new, and we're gonna create a new solid. I'm gonna call it background, and I'm gonna drop it below everything. So that way that invert effect is gonna work out. Okay, that's looking nice. I'm just gonna decrease the size a bit. And then what we want to do is basically create a keyframe for position. So let's hit the stopwatch, move backwards, and we're gonna slide it in from the bottom. I'm gonna select both and I'm gonna hit F9. I'm gonna go to the graph editor, and actually we can change it to the speed graph, and we're just gonna create a peak on the left. Okay, not bad. Let's adjust it a bit. I'm gonna play around with the timing. And now what I would like to do with this is borrow the rotation from our first rectangle. So for this, I'm gonna hit R, and also I'm gonna hit R in invert, and we're just gonna copy rotation. So let's hit Ctrl C and then Ctrl V over here. Let's adjust the timing. And that's what we have. And definitely we need to change the value to maybe 10. Okay, I'm gonna go back with this a bit. Probably too intense. So what I'm gonna do is change it to 5. Let's see now. I just feel like that scale up effect over here could be a bit longer. I mean, the beginning is fine. It's just the fact that it's stopping very quickly. So for this, I'm gonna go to the controller tool, hit U, and we're gonna extend it a bit over here. And now we need to make some adjustments. So I'm gonna go back, and we're just gonna go back to the value graph, and I'm gonna drag it lower, just like so. So now it's looking way better because the circle is still growing whenever the rectangle is popping up. It seems fine so far, but I just feel like we could offset it by 2 frames. Yeah, a bit better in my opinion. Alright, so let's see how many keyframes we already got. It's quite a few. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is basically go to the round rectangle over here, hit U, and we're gonna create another set of keyframes. What a surprise. So I'm gonna click over here on the size and also on the roundness, and I'm gonna move it somewhere here. I'm gonna move the time indicator over here, and we're gonna increase X and also decrease the roundness. Okay, let's select all of them, and we're gonna apply the mid graph. Okay, it's extremely slow, so we're just gonna speed it up. Alright, so now what I would like to do with the invert is scale it down. So for this, I'm gonna hit S, create a keyframe, move forward, and we're gonna decrease this scale to around 20. Should be fine. Okay, so that's how it's looking. And we need to extend the keyframes, and we're gonna apply the mid graph. Alright, so we need to figure out a good timing, so I'm just gonna hit U for this, and we're just gonna make sure to adjust these keyframes together with these ones. So let's move back. Okay, pretty good. Maybe let's align it. Yeah, actually works pretty good. We could also turn on motion blur, and then what we're gonna do is create a keyframe for position over here. So let's hit P, we're gonna set a keyframe right behind this one, we're gonna move forward, and we're gonna drag it to the left. We can select both, go to the graph editor, let's go to the speed graph, and here what we want is basically a peak in the middle. Okay, let's see. Too slow. I'm gonna speed it up a bit. And now is the time to add some text. So for this, I'm gonna hit Ctrl T, or just grab the type tool over here, and we're gonna type in visit, then recenter, and we're gonna probably put it somewhere here. Then we're gonna create a keyframe for position. And what I want to do is have that point drag the text. So for this, we can hit U for invert. We're gonna make sure to align it with the last keyframe because this is the final position. Then I'm gonna go over here, and I'm gonna drag it beyond the screen, actually beyond the frame. So now let's select and apply the mid graph again. Okay, starts to look really nice. Then we're gonna duplicate that layer. I'm gonna hit U. I'm gonna select both keyframes with the time indicator on one of them, and then I'm gonna drag it to the middle, and I'm gonna type in editing. Then I'm gonna duplicate it one more time. Let's hit U and do the same thing, but this time it's gonna go somewhere here. Alright, just feel like it needs a bit of an adjustment. Probably this one could be here. Okay, I'm gonna turn on the motion blur, and then what we're gonna do is offset it by 2 frames. So it should look like that. Alright, so this animation turned out pretty fast. So I think I'm gonna slow it down just a bit. So for this, I'm gonna select all the layers by hitting Ctrl A. Then I'm gonna hit U. I'm gonna select everything. And then while holding Alt, I'm gonna grab the last keyframe and I'm gonna extend it just a bit. So the only thing that is important for me is actually adjust the bounce over here because it seems a bit too early. So for this, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna hit U, and then we're just gonna drag that to the right. Okay, like that. Okay, that's really nice. One extra touch we could do is just select all the layers, pre-compose them, Let's call it all. And what I'm gonna do is just create a keyframe for scale. Then I'm gonna go to the beginning and I'm gonna change it to 0. Let's use one of the graphs, maybe this one. All right. Probably one last thing I would do is actually creating a bigger impact over here. So for this, what I'm gonna do is hit U for everything, and then I'm gonna go here to the position in our rectangles, and they are kind of getting close for a pretty long time for this animation. So I'm just gonna select these two, and that way I'm gonna extend them, and here they're gonna have less time to create a sharp movement, which is gonna turn out like a bigger impact. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. So whenever you're creating animations like that, you can expect that you're gonna have a lot of adjustments just because you got so many keyframes. There's always gonna be something to adjust. For example, here, I feel like this could be a bit faster so you can see that full shape. Okay, let's see now. Yeah, a bit better probably, because before it didn't have time to merge. Also, just an extra touch, I'm gonna add one thing, which is basically going here. I'm gonna right click, go to layer styles, and I'm gonna pick inner shadow. Let's open up inner shadow, and we're gonna decrease the angle, and we're gonna bump up the size. Okay, so that's how it's looking. Probably too much. 75 should be fine. And then we're gonna create a keyframe for opacity. Let's go back and change it to 0. So now we need to find the right timing. Yeah, when two circles are merging, probably this is the best moment. Looks way better here. So that was before and after. So that'll be it. Here you have the final animation. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. This one was pretty complicated. Hopefully you got through this. And yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here, and you can check out that video over here. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.